Episode 14. Tom, thank you so much for joining us. Man, you're at Condé Nast now. Mm-hmm. And tell us a bit about yourself, your position there, and what led up to that.
I live on the Jersey Shore, lived in Manhattan for like 10 years. So I do the commuting thing 2 days a week for Condé. But I run a marketing team that manages advertiser relationships, produces custom content like branded content, integrated editorial stuff, sponsored packages. So think about like video shoots, photo shoots, experiential activations, that type of stuff. So it's kind of half client relationship management and then half production and making cool stuff.
That's awesome. So where did it all start as far as getting in on the agency side or production side?
It's a winding tale, but ultimately, like, I just wanted to make cool shit with creative people. And I think what aligned me to Condé specifically and in production specifically is falling in love with the brands and the publications at Condé.
Yeah.
Whether it be GQ or Architectural Digest, Bon Appetit was a big influence and reason why I was looking to join Condé Nast.
That was the first brand.
Yeah, that was the first.
You. Yeah,
exactly right. I mean, that was the first brand that I worked with and represented and strategized for and like all those things for a couple years before I kind of branched out and had more responsibility with different publications within the Condé Nast umbrella, which owns like, I don't know, 15 publications or so.
So before Condé, were you at Virtue then?
I was at Virtue before Condé.
Yeah,
correct.
yep. And so tell us about your experience at Virtue.
Oh man, it was awesome. I mean, Virtue was my second job. My first one was at a bank doing social media stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
But what was so cool and rewarding about Virtue is it was my first and to this day only creative agency experience where, you know, I joined a young up and coming agency. I got to, you know, literally sit on couches with kids my age, like 24, 25, just like spitballing stuff with like not a hard deadline, you know? And I think of every account that I worked on at Virtue, whether it was like Ferrari USA or, you know, Michelin Tires or the Yankees or Rick and Morty, they were all like group projects. And it's like the other people at Virtue were like my classmates, you know? And that's kind of like how it felt in there. It was a very collegial vibe.
You said before you were at Virtue, you worked on the marketing side of a bank.
Yeah.
At a bank. Tell us about that contrast, because I know there were some things you liked about working at the bank that you still, you know, value today.
Absolutely.
But talk about that contrast of going from a bank, that corporate world and that structure, to the rebellion of working for Vice.
So I went to college at Florida Gulf Coast University down in Fort Myers, Florida. At the time, I thought I wanted to be a journalist and specifically like a sports journalist. I was like so into fantasy sports. I thought, you know, if I could be a beat writer for the Knicks and do like NBA stuff and cover the games and do fantasy analysis, like that would be ace. So I joined the student newspaper in the sports department, ultimately became the sports editor and started utilizing social media to promote some of the articles and some of the journalistic content we were doing as the student newspaper. And through that, I think, and just like natural, like coming of age and realizing how the world worked and like to a certain degree, like what jobs were emerging based on technology and subsequently which ones were kind of waning. I wasn't so hot on journalism anymore. And I was like, I really like the creative aspect of disseminating and promoting content through social. And that got me really leaned into marketing.
What year was that?
That was my junior year. So that was 2010.
So big Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook.
Heavy Facebook.
Yeah, like not even Instagram, you know? Like that was Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so that led you to working at the bank?
Yeah, so that didn't quite lead me to working at the bank. What happened was I did internships at Sirius Radio before I graduated Florida Gulf Coast in 2011. And as some people may remember, it was a really tough job market in 2011, 2012. And it was hard to get a job. You know, I moved back to my parents' house in New Jersey. I was applying for jobs like nonstop. It was hard to get interviews. I was like delivering pizza. I was like hanging out with my boys who were like still on the Jersey Shore post-college. And I was like slipping into this phase a little bit of like going out pretty hard on the weekends and then like being really bummed out during the week when I was applying to all these places and like delivering pizza and like not getting interviews and just figuring out like, what the fuck? Like, this isn't how it's supposed to be coming out of college. Like I was going to get a job like straight. And it took a year really to have a bite. And that was at a media company, actually really a TV company, where they offered me a job and I accepted it. And it was more of like a operations job in relation to putting commercials out on TV against a TV channel. And it really wasn't creative. It wasn't truly what I wanted to do, but I was just so desperate after a year plus of not having my first professional job. So I jumped on it. And lo and behold, like a week later, I got this offer from a bank to help strategize and run their social media, where I would have a lot of creative autonomy. I would get my hands in the mix, and I would have, like, most importantly, some stuff that I can put together in a portfolio to show my next employer or job when I'm out in the market, hey, like, this is some cool stuff that, like, I really worked on that took creative prowess and strategy and all that stuff.
So you went into that knowing, like, okay, this isn't the ideal job long term, but I know what I want from this going into it.
Yeah. So what happened was I took that first job.
Yeah.
I took the job trafficking TV commercials, basically.
Yeah.
And then I had the offer like a week later from the bank to do the social media
Gotcha.
strategy and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And I was like, damn, I need to tell these people that, like, I'm sorry, but I'm leaving after a week, you know? So I remember going to the HR guy's office and breaking the news, because I wanted to tell HR first. Like, I didn't really know my manager that well. I was like, let me do it the right way and talk to HR. And the dude was like, okay, but you will never work at this company again. And I was like, I know, I'm sorry. Like, I wasted everybody's time here. But, like, I just knew it was the right thing for me. And I think about that once in a while, because there's no way that I would have gotten to where I am today and been so pleased with my career path in terms of creative satisfaction than if I stayed in that role that was my first job out of college for 1 week. That's not even on my LinkedIn.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
So you always had like kind of a creative itch there, like urge there, but you got all that insight around data strategy from the bank.
Yeah.
And you took that to Virtue.
Yeah. I mean, it was a big focus at the bank, right?
Yeah.
Because we really needed to prove how our marketing strategy worked to C-suite executives. So a lot of that needed to come through in data. It's a bank. It's very informed by numbers. People are numbers people in that place. So you need to show up with your own numbers to show that what your team is doing and coming up with and spending money on is analytically adding up and providing value to the bank.
Was it heavy Facebook ads as well?
Yeah, we did Facebook ads. We were trying to build an organic presence on Instagram when I was there. There were certain like corporate sponsorships tied to tent poles that we would promote on social. We were really just like they had no social. So we were starting from scratch on the difference in the brand voice and tone and the content strategy from Twitter versus Facebook. We went through hoops of legal and compliance to even create an Instagram account. We didn't even start publishing in my time there, but just to like create it and like hold on to the handle and make sure that nobody like took it was like a big deal. You know what I mean? And we did stuff on LinkedIn too, which probably was like the most active and purposeful social media account for the bank when I was there. Yeah.
How long were you at the bank?
2 years.
Okay, so not crazy long.
Yeah.
And then, so that transition going to Virtue, what sort of excited you or led you into Vice? Was it the name Vice to start off with? Like the umbrella?
Yeah, that's a good question. Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, Vice was a big deal in 2015.
Hell yeah. That was, you couldn't open
2014.
Facebook, anything without
No.
seeing something from them.
Yeah. And they were like, if they hadn't launched it already, they had like Munchies and Broadly and like Thump. And I don't think they quite had the TV channel yet, but maybe they did. Like everything was just like exploding, right? What I was really doing was just looking at the creative agencies in New York and like getting familiar with what the big creative agencies even were. Like they weren't on my radar. I didn't really have a mentor who was like, yo, after what you're doing now, you got to go to a creative agency. I was just kind of thinking I would like to work and have experience on a number of different brands and just like sit around and come up with cool shit with people and learn from their experience in the industry on how to do it the right way, how to come up with stuff the right way. But what I really liked about Vice's agency, Cara Creative, which later became Virtue Worldwide, is that they were very, like, juvenile is not the right word, but they had they just had like youth to them. Like I remember on their application page on their website, there were like animated spaceships like flying behind the application page for like engagement strategists. You know what I mean? And like I saw the body of work and I saw the stuff with, you know, like Breyer's ice cream and stuff with the Yankees and tons of stuff with Adult Swim. And I was like, yes, I, as a 25, 26-year-old, I was like, that's like exactly it. And it worked out, and it was an awesome 2 years.
Yeah. So you told us a bit about your time at Virtue, but what would you say, like high level, that you took from the bank and what you took from Virtue, and how that's led you to Condé now?
Through working at the bank, I really sunk my teeth in data and analytics. That was like the big takeaway. And I think having some autonomy on creating content strategy from scratch with some senior leaders kind of like guiding me was a really valuable process from the bank. And I think I took those experiences into Virtue, the creative agency, and that helped me come prepared to work with a team of other really talented people who had a dedicated focus in the culmination of building something really special for an advertising client. So, you know, traditional creative agency, you have account, you have insights or analytics, you have like a community manager, sometimes you have a producer, and then you have a strategist and a creative. So to work with those different people on different client accounts and really just like work on campaigns and come up with ideas that I was genuinely interested in, like in my personal life, I think was a big deal too.
Did you like dealing with, on the agency side, dealing with multiple clients, multiple brands, multiple industries? Did you like that excitement as opposed to one sole brand day in, day out?
I did. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to go to the creative agency side from the bank. Is I wanted that multi-pronged experience. I wanted to like taste all the flavors in the ice cream shop, so to speak. And I was kind of like put into this like sports, food, like active lifestyle type of like corner in terms of what accounts and projects I would work on, which was fantastic because that's like exactly what I was into. So doing stuff for, you know, some of those advertising clients in sport, you know, running or helping run a big influencer event for a tire company in Palm Springs. And we had like film crews following each person and creating like a little mini documentary of their experience. And like my job was like making sure that nobody got like too messed up at night before the hot laps the next morning in the hotel. Like there were just so many wild experiences there, but like so many good people who went on to become big wigs at different creative agencies that are well respected and just like powerhouses. It was,
they cut their teeth there.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. Yeah. But again, like it was so collegial, and I think, you know, just so many kudos to Chris Patesh and Mike Germano for really building a culture that let people run teams and run with projects and not feel stifled creatively, and really just like almost like encourage us to be nerds. I would say is like the best way where our creative freedom like really flowed. It's like no idea was a bad idea. They were just like different ways of learning and thinking about how to flex creatively that like weren't even on my radar.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So for people that don't understand, because working in marketing agencies can still be split up into so many different teams, so many different roles and focuses. Can you just talk about what the teams are like and how they're separated at Condé, and what the sort of client process is going through each of those teams?
The way it works is an advertiser or the media company that represents the advertiser will send Condé Nast a salesperson who's kind of tied to the category of the advertiser, an RFP, which is a request for proposal. So that's a document that kind of outlines the brief on what the client is looking to achieve, whether it's the certain audience they're looking to reach, the certain brand goal or communication points that they're trying to communicate. And in the sake of Condé Nast, they're trying to reach our audience that's dedicated to our publications, whether it's GQ, Condé Nast Traveler, et cetera. So the way the process works is it usually starts with insights, just like at most, if not all, creative agencies, on how we can respond to reaching their target audience. And sometimes that dictates the type of Condé Nast publication that is going to be central to the response to the RFP in terms of here's a brand that reaches your audience and we can come up with some custom content that really resonates with both the audience you're trying to reach and integrates your brand in a smart way. And that's branded content, right? It should look and feel like editorial content, but seamlessly weave in, the advertiser's product or certain communication points or like a certain ethos that they're trying to communicate. So while the process is started with data, then comes strategy. So we have a strategy team that comes up with ideas and concepts that could work in communication with the creative team. And that's how it works. And then there's, of course, like a media plan because media is a big part of the targeted ad spend and the ways that we're going to guarantee certain impressions or video views. So we have CPMs, which is impressions, and CPV, which is video views.
Got you. So how much work goes into the proposal to come back with the RFP?
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Like in this media landscape, there's RFPs where it's like 48 hours to return it.
Yeah.
And like sometimes we get that on a Friday afternoon and it's like it needs to be in by Tuesday at 3. It can be killer on the production teams. It can be really stressful on the creative teams that feel like they're coming up with really awesome concepts. And, I think it's something also that like a lot of us just need to get used to who play in the space. I think being nimble and being a yes person and kind of like being prepared to work a bit of overtime like once in a while are definitely tools and attributes that are positive because there are situations like that where an RFP process happens really quick and then we have an expedited timeline in the production phase if we win the business.
Got you. So where does you and your team really come in the process?
Yeah, if a deal is nearing sell where we're going to be awarded the advertising business at Condé, I like to be informed a little upstream, like before it sells, and just like check out the things. But ultimately, I'll assign somebody on my team once it does sell. Then we'll have an internal kickoff call so the person on my team can get downloaded from the creative and the strategist. And it's like, the Avengers all coming together. And like the person on my team is supposed to be the quarterback for the program. So they're driving the communication with the client, and they're also like the quarterback from a production standpoint. They're Mr. and Mrs. Timeline, making sure like we're in order and everything is happening at a pace where we are set to produce and launch on X date when we promised the client to. So there's a lot of responsibility. It takes social scale to deliver good news and bad news to clients. I think a big thing for me is I want advertisers who partner with Condé Nast to feel like they're getting the white glove service that they're getting at the Four Seasons, right? Because that's the way that I see Condé Nast in the media landscape. And I think that's the perception that brands have when they decide to partner with us. And I want to make sure that we are carrying that through. Their experience with Condé Nast is largely based on their experience with my team. So that's like a paramount thing that I look for whenever I'm hiring. I think the skill set can be learned, but the social intangibles and the charisma and the ability to converse well is like of utmost importance.
100%. And what does the white glove service look like?
Yeah, white glove service is responding timely to clients, giving them a rundown of what's going on at the top of each week through the course of the week. I like when my team thinks from the perspective of the client and also answers questions that they may be thinking about. So kind of that like predictive accountability of being a good lead and keeping them informed, not just reactively, but proactively. And also making them feel like they're part of the creative process, making them feel like they understand, value, and appreciate where their banner ads are going on a certain publication. We don't take any spend lightly. It's a big deal when anybody invests with Condé Nast, and it's really important that that comes through in the client management and the account servicing.
100%. So big communication.
Yeah.
Just a lot of communication, and across the team as well.
Yeah.
It's not just you being the figurehead for your team. It's
Yeah.
like,
I'm like always in favor of over communication. I think you do need to be social in this industry, and I think that that's a byproduct of being a proactive account lead when managing client relationships, or maybe being the lead producer and creating stuff. I think over communication is like a hard skill,
And do you that would have to help repeat clients too,
Yeah.
as well? Like they would have to, even at that level, like, yeah, they could work with any agency that they wanted to, but if they enjoyed the process, and they got the results, they know they're going to get the results, but if they enjoyed the process first and foremost, like, is that something that brings people back to?
Absolutely. So much of the white glove service results in what I call boomerang clients. These are the clients who come back year after year.
I'm offended, but that's all right.
Yeah, true. But yeah, I mean, again, it goes back to the client experience and putting the best face forward and the best strategic planning for setting up the client to feel really good and tucked in and feel like they're part of the process and feel like what we're making together is driving results. They're spending money for a reason and they're reporting to somebody at their company and showing what they did with us. And it better matter and it better look great and it better perform well. And when they keep coming back with us, we know that we're ticking all those boxes.
At the end of the day, what creates content that wins?
I think the really interesting and fun and oftentimes challenging aspects about creating branded content is you need to balance the expected content that comes out of the editorial team, because branded content is mimicking that, but also infuse sometimes the unknown of what the client wants to integrate into the content that they're paying for. It could be a product, it could be a certain geographical location if it's a tourism board, and that needs to marry well and be entertaining. Good branded content is entertaining first and advertiser integrated second, where the advertiser is not lost, but the viewer or the consumer should be entertained, right? If branded content is coming off as an ad first, shoehorn into something that's like faux entertainment, that's very easily snipped out these days because the population and the consumer knows what branded content is and they can smell that out.
How often do you have to have that conversation?
I think the best situations from a working relationship standpoint is when everybody understands that the biggest value is creating the expected content that the public expects from a publication, and then just peppering in those brand integration moments or those brand talking points or that product, right? Like you just pepper it in. But if it's like, if it's shoehorned in there, it's going to be glaringly obvious and it's going to be jolting to the consumer.
Absolutely. Cool. Is there anything else that you've been excited about, like projects in the last couple of years that have been sort of monumental?
There's a project that I'm really proud of that we executed last fall with the Ritz-Carlton, and it was in partnership with one of their brand ambassadors, Lewis Hamilton, the F1 driver. So we did a video shoot down at a children's school in Mexico City where we funded the refurbishment of their art room and integrated some race car themes into the rebrand and into the redecoration of the art room. And then because the video was produced in partnership with Condé Nast and the Ritz-Carlton, their ambassador, Lewis Hamilton, surprised the kids and showed up when we had video crews on camera. And then we had this racetrack set up in kind of like the playground town square situation with these RC cars, and the kids got to race him on the tracks, and just like the lighting was so good. It was like a post-rain shoot, so you had like a little bit of that like misting situation, and like when the cars were peeling around the corner, like the water was flying off the tires. Like it was just like cinematic bliss. It was like a great shoot day, and he was so up for it too, which is great because sometimes you never know what you're gonna get with like a really A-list celebrity like that. That was awesome and something that I'm proud of because of the philanthropic elements as well.
That's awesome. Yeah. So talking about the challenges now of working with clients, what's one of the biggest challenges that you've faced and had to navigate through?
Dude, it's always the same thing, but it's as big of a challenge as it's ever been. It's budget and timeline.
Yeah.
Like it's always budget and timeline. Usually we can land on a concept. We can sell them on a target audience. We can get them integrated into an editorial package that makes sense for everybody. But it's, do we have enough runway to do it not well, but like really great? And then do we have the budget to do it not well, but really great?
Got you.
So it's kind of like tinkering with this and, you know, playing mad scientist a bit to get to a formula that makes sense, that helps us win business, right? Because at the end of the day, while I'm on the production team in the post-sale phase leading client relationships, we're trying to win business and we're a team, and we need to help the sales team win business, whether we're in the pre-sale phase or the post-sale phase, the event team, the video team.
Yeah, fully. Now, personal interests. So I know you're a runner.
Yeah.
You said you were into cooking
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Now-
Cooking, I mean, that's just like a coming of age thing. I think so many people can relate to. Like, being in college, watching Bourdain on the Travel Channel and
yeah.
the reservations, like that was a huge deal for me. Running, I only started running during COVID out of necessity. Couldn't go to the gym, like never really ran in my life. And now 4 years later, I love running. I get up at 5 and run. I'm a big morning person where if I'm able to wake up in the morning and run and get back to the house and have a nice breakfast, like I'm going to crush that day no matter what.
Yeah.
Like the mental clarity and headspace that I have after running is just, it wasn't even on my radar how great that could be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something I'm really into. And now I'm just kind of at the point where I don't want to push it too much because I want to be able to run for a long time.
Got you.
And not have like shoddy
Injuries,
knees.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm trying to balance how much I run. And, I want this to be part of my life for a long time.
That's awesome. All right. Last few questions up. We're going to do these rapid fire questions. These are always fun. Sometimes they're actually not rapid fire, but let's see where we go.
Okay.
Let's. So, what's one thing you regret spending money on?
Honestly, like plants. No. That's not a good one. Dude, I don't know. I don't know if I have a big financial regret.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome.
I don't know.
No, we're gonna go with plants. Plants.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So, what dish do you cook best?
Oh man, I think what I'm really good at right now is cooking bread. And I'm not claiming to be a great baker, but I've been really good with focaccia lately. And it's something I've been really into.
I had that I had a 6 month period where I was obsessed with making dough for pizza bases.
Yeah.
I was just that dude.
It'll fade.
Yeah.
Dude, I'll be out of it by fall.
Yeah.
But right now I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
It's like my little thing.
I always had on my kitchen counter every day. I would have a new fucking dough with a tea towel covering.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
All right. What's your guilty pleasure?
Chips. Potato chips. I'm the type of guy who will have breakfast and be like, I don't really like breakfast. I'll eat breakfast just to do the right thing as an adult. And then I'll kick into the kitchen at 10 a.m. and just house some Ruffles.
Yeah.
And that's just what I crave.
You're a machine.
And so it's chips.
Yeah. It's all right. You run it off. What are the 3 things you can't live without?
Oh man. Air conditioning. Does that count? Something simple as that. I would say my wife, huge deal. And then I would say my family. Everything else, I think we can work around.
Yep. That's awesome. When you were younger, what did you envision your profession being?
I guess the sports writer. It's just growing up in the Northeast, everybody's a sports fan. So I think logically sports journalism and working for a newspaper, just doing something in sports.
What's one thing you always wanted to try, but you're too scared to?
Probably surfing. I'm never really given surfing.
You look like a surfer.
Well, yeah, I know. And I've got that growing up on the Jersey Shore and the blonde hair and all that, but I've never really given it a strong, hard chance.
Yeah. I had a 6 month period of surfing again. Then I was like, fuck it. This is not I'm the worst Australian. I literally was born pretty much on the beach and lived at the beach my entire childhood, but no, can't surf. What's something you notice about someone the first time you meet them?
If they make eye contact or not.
Is that good or bad?
I think it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you couldn't work in this industry, what profession would you pursue at this age?
I think being part of operations at a sports club or a sports league would be really cool.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
So not specifically marketing, but operations.
Here we go. What between data, strategy, creative, production, what do you get most fulfillment out of?
Maybe the strategy, because I think that's really where the excitement blossoms of okay, we're onto something that we really feel has teeth, backed in data, and makes sense for the brand. And that's exciting because that's the first big hurdle, I would say. So I would say the strategy. And then the creative is obviously lovely. The production can be nice. Shoot days can be really long too. So for people who haven't been on set or haven't been on a video shoot or at an experiential activation, it can be fun, but it can be a grueling day too. So I would say the strategy.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
Really nailing the strategy.
Yeah, and where is there a pattern that you feel that leads to strategy success, or at least on the surface? Not so much the execution of the production, but the strategy execution. Is there a pattern that you like, or a formula?
I think for me, good strategy is obviously backed by data and insights, but also informed by who that audience is and what the arena of content that we're looking to play in kind of resonates with. And the strategy should be communicating to them in a way that works for both the advertiser and the audience. And then the creative is kind of like the candy that really makes the audience pay attention and makes them stick around and stay.
Got you. Awesome, man. That was everything I wanted to run through. Nothing else you want to add?
I don't think so.
No?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, there is one thing I want you to ask the audience. So, like, what's one thing that you would ask the audience that you would like feedback on? It could be anything. It could be, what's your favorite cereal? What's your favorite pack of chips?
Okay.
Or it could be a lot deeper than that.
Dude, I like good chips.
Dude, do it.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to poll the audience. Favorite chip brand? Go.
Done. What is your favorite chip brand?
Honestly, I just like potato chips. Like just straight potato.
Like
I
sea
like tons of chips. But yeah, just like original like Lay's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a huge Cheez-It guy too.
Yeah.
They do the Tabasco Cheez-It are fucking epic.
Yeah.
And I love onion dip. So like getting the big Cheez-Its and dipping in the onion dip like fucking stoned is like the best thing. Yeah. I could eat chips. Like I'll eat chips the rest of my life. Like I will never cut out chips no matter what's going on.
This is why I have to limit like how much I go to Trader Joe's like every week. It's like because it's just like snack city in there.
Yeah.
But bro, that was everything. Where can people find you?
They can LinkedIn me, Thomas Heiss. That's the main place.
That's it.
Yeah.
Brother, thank you so much, man.
Thank you, man.
I appreciate you.